Hello, internet friends. This is the host of the show with no name, and I'm gonna try something new. It's going to be Let's Read the Westing Game. It's pretty much gonna be a Let's Play, only instead of me playing a video game, it's gonna be me reading a book. So it's kind of be a combination audiobook and comedic review. This is gonna come out in parts, and I don't know how this is going to turn out, but hey, let's try it out. Just so you know, whenever I'm reading from the book, this picture is going to appear. Anytime it's not there, that means I'm just talking. By the way, I have read this book before, but for the sake of, this review, I'm going to act like I haven't. Alright, let's get started. Chapter 1. Sunset Towers. The sun sets in the west. Just about everyone knows that. But Sunset Towers faced east. Strange! Sunset Towers faced east and had no towers. Who's the idiot that named this building? Seriously. Sunset Towers faced east and had no towers. This glittery, glassy apartment house stood alone on Lake Michigan shore, 5 stories high. 5 empty stories high. Then one day, it happened to be the 4th of July, a most uncommon-looking delivery boy rode around town slipping letters under the doors of chosen tenants-to-be. The letters were signed Barney Northrup. The delivery boy was 62 years old, and there was no such person as Barney Northrup. Okay. The letter said this: Dear Lucky One, here it is, the apartment you've always dreamed of, at a rent you can afford, in the newest, most luxurious building on Lake Michigan. Sunset Towers. Picture windows in every room. Uniformed doorman. Maid service. Central air conditioning. High-speed elevator. Exclusive neighborhood near excellent schools, etc., etc. Seriously, the last bullet point is just ETC twice. You have to see it to believe it. But these unbelievably elegant apartments will be shown by appointment only. So hurry, there are only a few left! 3 exclamation marks. Call me now at 276-7474 for this once-in-a-lifetime offer. Your servant, Barney Northrup. P.S. I'm also renting ideal space for doctor's office and lobby, coffee shop, and entrance from parking lot, high-class restaurant, and entire top floor. Well, gee, it looks like somebody has a lot of money to blow for something really inane. 6 letters were delivered. Just 6. 6 appointments were made, one by one, family by family, talk, talk, talk. Barney Northrup led the tours around and about Sunset Towers. Take a look at all this glass. One-way glass, Barney Northrup said. You can see out, nobody can see in. Looking up, the Wexlers, the first appointment of the day, were blinded by a blast of morning sun that flashed off the face of the building. See those chandeliers? Crystal! Barney Northrup said, slicking his black mustache and straightening his hand-painted tie on the lobby's mirrored wall. How about this carpeting? 3 inches thick! Gorgeous, Miss Wexler replied, clutching her husband's arm as her high heels wobbled in the deep plush pile. She, too, managed an approving glance in the mirror before the elevator doors opened. You're really in luck, Barney Northrup said. There's only 1 apartment left, but you'll love it. It was meant for you. He flung open the door to 3D. 3D apartment! Now, is that breathtaking or is that breathtaking? Miss Wexler gasped. It was breathtaking, all right. 2 walls of the living room were floor-to-ceiling glass. Okay, I don't know how that works in a house. You don't really... What's the point of a glass wall? Really? Okay. Following Barney Northrup's lead, she oohed and ahed her joyous way throughout the entire apartment. Her trailing husband was less enthusiastic. What is this, a bedroom or a closet? Jake Wexler asked, peering into the last room. It's a bedroom, of course, his wife replied. It looks like a closet. Oh, Jake, this apartment is perfect for us. Just perfect, Grace Wexler argued in a whining coo. That doesn't seem like a type of word you would argue with. You don't argue while whining coolly. The 3rd bedroom was a trifle small, but it would do just fine for Turtle. They have a turtle and they're going to give it a whole room? Oh, wait. They have a kid named Turtle. And I think what it means having your office in the lobby, Jake. No more driving to and from work. No more mowing the lawn or shoveling snow. Let me remind you, Barney Northrup said, the rent here is cheaper than what your old house costs in upkeep. How would he know that? Jake wondered. Grace stood before the front window where, beyond the road, beyond the trees, Lake Michigan lay calm and glistening. A lake view! Just wait until the so-called friend of hers with those classy houses see this place. The furniture would have to be reupholstered. No, she'd buy new furniture. Beige velvet. Beige velvet. And she'd have stationery made. Blue with a decollage. Her name and fancy address in swirling type across the top. Grace Windsor Wexler, Sunset Towers on Lake Shore. Yes, this is the neighbor your mother hates. Personified. Not every tenant to DV was quite as enjoyed as Grace Windsor Wexler. Arriving in the late afternoon, Sidel Pulaski. I refuse to believe that that is a real name. That's got to be like an anagram of something else, because neither of those sound like names. Sidel Pulaski. I defy you to find me an actual real-life person that has either of those names. Okay. Arriving in the late afternoon, Sidel Pulaski looked up and saw only the dim, warped reflections of treetops and drifting clouds in the glass face of Sunset Towers. You're really in luck, Barney Northup said for the sixth and last time. There's only one apartment left, but you'll love it. It was meant for you. He flung open the door to a one-bedroom apartment in the rear. Now, is that breathtaking or is that breathtaking? Not especially, Sidel Pulaski replied as she blinked into the rays of summer sun setting behind the parking lot. She waited all these years for a place of her own, and here it was, in an elegant building where rich people lived. But she wanted a lake view. The front apartments are taken, Barney Northup said. Besides, the rent's too steep for a secretary's salary. Believe me, they'll get the same luxuries here at a third of the price. At least the view from the side window was pleasant. Are you sure nobody can see in? Sidel Pulaski asked. Absolutely, Barney Northup said, following her suspicious stare to the mansion on the North Cliff. Oh, that's just the old Westinghouse up there. Da-da! It hasn't been lived in for 15 years. Well, we'll have to think it over. I have 20 people begging for this apartment, Barney Northup said, lying through his buck teeth. Take it or leave it. I'll take it. Whatever else he was, Barney Northup was a good salesman. In one day, he had rented all of the Sunset Towers to the people whose names were already printed on the mailbox in an alcove off the lobby. Okay, I don't think it takes a particularly good salesman to sell this type of stuff. This is preset so that they would buy it and they would be there. Yeah, great salesman. That's like me selling you something that you were supposed to get. Okay. Office. Dr. Wexler. Lobby. Theodorakis Coffee Shop. 2C. F. Bombach. 2D. Theodorakis. 3C. S. Pulaski. 3D. Wexler. 4C. Who. 5D. J.J. Ford. That sounds like a rapper. 5. Shin Hoo's Restaurant. Who were these people? These especially selected tenants. They were mothers and fathers and children. A dressmaker, a secretary, an inventor, a doctor, a judge. Oh, and also, there was one bookie, one was a burglar, one was a bomber, and one was a mistake. Barney Northup had rented one of the apartments to the wrong person. Well, that seems like a really easy thing to fix. Well, whatever. Chapter 2. Ghosts. Or worse. On September 1st, the Chosen Ones, and the Mistake, moved in. A wire fence had been erected along the north side of the building. On it a sign warned, "No trespassing, property of the Westing Estate." The newly paved driveway curved sharply and doubled back on itself rather than breach the city-county line. Sunset Towers stood at the edge of a far town. On September 2nd, Shin Hoo's Restaurant, specializing in authentic Chinese cuisine, as opposed to what type of Chinese cuisine? Inauthentic? If you're a Chinese restaurant, you serve Chinese food. I don't know what that means. The Shin Hoo Restaurant, specializing in authentic Chinese cuisine, held its grand opening. Only 3 people came. Ha ha! It was indeed an exclusive neighborhood. Too exclusive for Mr. Hoo. Mr. Who? However, the less expensive coffee shop that had opened in the parking lot was busy serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner to tenants ordering up and to workers from nearby Westington. Sunset Towers was a quiet, well-run building, and, except for the grumbling Mr. Who, the people who lived there seemed content. Neighbor greeted neighbor with a good morning or good evening or a friendly smile, and grappled with small problems behind closed doors. The big problems were yet to come. Dun, dun, dun. Now is the end of October. A cold, raw wind whipped dead leaves about the ankles of the four people grouped in the Sunset Tower's driveway, but not one of them shivered. Not yet. The stocky, broad-shouldered man in the doorman's uniform, standing with feet spread, fists on hips, was Sandy McSuthers. The two slim, trim high school seniors, shielding their eyes against the stinging chill, were Theo Theodorakis and Doug Hu. The small, wiry man pointing to the house on the hill was Otis Hamber, the 62-year-old delivery boy. Okay, I think at this point he's a delivery man. Unless he's just, really weird. They faced north, gaping like statues cast in the moment of discovery, until Turtle Wexler... I hope that's a nickname. Why would you name your kid Turtle? Okay, her kite tail of braid flying behind her, raced her bicycle into the driveway. Look! There's smoke! There's smoke coming from the chimney of the Westinghouse. Others had seen it. What did they think they were looking at anyway? Yeah, stupid Turtle. Turtle leaned on the handlebars, panting for breath. Sunset Towers was near excellent schools, as Barney Northrop had promised, but the junior high was 4 miles away. Do you think Old Man Westing's up there? Nah, Otis Amber, the old delivery boy, answered. Nobody's seen him for years. Supposed to be living on a private island in the South Seas, he is. Most folks say he's dead. Long gone dead. They say his corpse is still up there in that big old house. They say his body is sprawled out on a fancy oriental rug, and his flesh is rotting off those mean bones, and maggots are creeping in his eye sockets and crawling out of his nose holes. Delivery boy added a high-pitched hee-hee-hee to the gruesome details. Now someone shivered. It was Turtle. Serves him right, Sandy said. At other times a cheery fellow, the doorman often complained bitterly about having been fired from his job of 20 years in the Westing paper mill. But somebody must be up there. Somebody alive, that is. He pushed back the gold-braided cap and squinted at the house through his steel-framed glasses as he was expecting the curling smoke to write the answer in the autumn air. Maybe it's those kids again. No, it can be. What kids? The 3 kids wanted to know. Why, those unfortunate fellows from Westingtown. What unfortunate fellows? 3 heads twisted from the doorman to the delivery boy. Doug Hu ducked Turtle's whizzing braid. Touch or press his pigtails, even by accident, and she'll kick you in the shins, the brat. He couldn't chance an injury on his legs, not with the big meat coming. The track star began to jog in place. Horrible, it was horrible, Otis Amber said with a shudder that sent the loose straps of his leather aviator helmet swinging on his long, thin face. Wait, he's an old guy with an aviator helmet. Is he the Unabomber? That looks like the Unabomber. Come to think of it, it happened exactly 1 year ago tonight, on Halloween. What happened? Theo Theodorakis asked impatiently. He was late for work in the coffee shop. Tell him, Otis, Sandy urged. The delivery boy stroked the gray stubble on his pointed chin. Seems it all started with a bet. Somebody bet them $1 that they couldn't stay in that spooky house 5 minutes. 1 measly buck. Before kids hardly got through those French doors on the west side of the Westinghouse, and they came tearing out like they were being chased by a ghost. Chased by a ghost. Or worse. Name drop. Or worse. Turtle forgot her throbbing toothache. Theo Theodorakis and Doug Hu, older and more worldly-wise, exchanged winks, but stayed to hear the rest of the story. One fella ran out crazy-like, screaming his head off. He never stopped screaming till he hit the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. The other fellow hasn't said but 2 words since. Something about purple. Sandy helped him out. Purple waves. Otis Amber nodded sadly. Yet that poor fellow just sits in the state asylum saying, purple waves, over and over again. And his scared eyes keep staring at those hands. You see, when he came running out of the Westinghouse, his hands were dripping with warm, red blood. Now all 3 kids shivered. Poor kid, the doorman said. All that pain and suffering for $1 bet. Make it $2 for each minute I stay in there and you're on, Turtle said. Someone was spying on the group in the driveway. From the front window of apartment 2D, 15-year-old Chris Theodorakis watched his brother Theo shake hands. It must be a bet with a skinny one-pigtail girl. No, wait. Skinny one pigtail. You don't have one pigtail, you have one ponytail. If it's a side, you can say side ponytail. You can say one ponytail. You don't say one pigtail. That's not how that works. Whatever. Okay, the skinny one pigtail girl and rushed into the lobby. The family coffee shop would be busy now. His brother would have been working at the counter half an hour ago. Chris checked the wall clock. 2 more hours before Theo would bring up his dinner. Then he would tell him about the limper. Earlier that afternoon, Chris had followed the flight of a purple martin, Prognisubis, that's the Latin name of it, they put that throughout this book, across the field of brambles, through the hall oaks, up to the red maple on the hill. The bird flew off, but something else caught his eye. Someone, he could not tell if the person was a man or a woman, came out of the shadows on the lawn, unlocked the French doors, and disappeared into the Westinghouse. Somebody with a limp. Minutes later, smoke began to rise from the chimney. Once again, Chris turned toward the side window and scanned the house on the cliff. The French doors were closed. Heavy drapes hung full against the 17 windows he counted so many times. They didn't need drapes on the special glass windows here in Sunset Towers. He could see out, but nobody could see in. Then why did he sometimes feel like someone was watching him? Who could be watching him? God? If God was watching, then why was he like this? The binoculars fell into the boy's lap. His head jerked, his body coiled, leashed by violent spasms. Relax, Theo will come soon. Relax, soon the geese will be flying south in a V Canada goose, Botana canadensis. Relax, relax, and watch the wind tangle the smoke and blow it towards Westingtown. So I'm guessing that Chris is like Parkinson's or something. And he blames God for his Parkinson's. Lovely. Chapter 3. Tenants in and out. Upstairs in 3D. 3D! Angela Wexler stood on a hassock as still and blank-faced pretty as a store window dummy. Her pale blue eyes stared unblinkingly at the lake. Turn, dear, said Flora Bomback, the dressmaker, who lived and worked in a smaller apartment on the second floor. Angela pivoted a slow quarter turn. Oh! Startled by the small cry, Flora Bomback dropped the pin from her pudgy fingers and almost swallowed the 3 in her mouth. Be careful, Miss Bomback. My Angela has very delicate skin. Grace Winslow was supervising the fitting of his daughter's wedding dress from the beige velvet couch. Above her hung the 24 framed flower prints she had selected and arranged with the greatest of taste and care. She could have been an interior decorator. A good one, too, if it wasn't for the pressing demands of so on and so forth. Miss Bomback didn't prick me, Mother, Angela said evenly. I was just surprised to see smoke coming from the Westinghouse chimney. Crawling with slow caution on the hands and knees, Flora Bomback paused in the search for a dropped pin to peer up through her straight gray bangs. Miss Wexler set her coffee cup on the driftwood coffee table. You make a coffee table out of driftwood. Yeah, she can totally be an interior... What would that even look like? And craned her neck for a better view. You must have new neighbors. I'll have to drive up there with a housewarming gift. They may need some decorating advice. Wow! I hate Miss Wexler already. She's so obnoxious. Hey, look, there's smoke coming from the Westinghouse. Again, Turtle was late with the news. Oh, it's you. Miss Wexler always seemed surprised to see her other daughter, so unlike golden-haired, angel-faced Angela. A mother who's really obnoxious and plays favorites. Yeah. Flora Bomback, about to rise with the found pin, quickly sank back down and protect her sore shin on the shag carpeting. She had pulled Turtle's braid in the lobby yesterday. So, if you... Well, I would kick you in the shins if you pulled my braid, but if it was an accident, I probably wouldn't kick you. Otis Amber says that Old Man Westing's stinking corpse is rotting in an oriental rug. My, oh my, Flora Bombax exclaimed. And Miss Wexler clicked her tongue in an irritated tsk. Turtle decided not to go on with the horror story. Not that her mother cared she got killed or ending up a raving lunatic. Miss Bomback, could you have my witch's costume? I need it for tonight. Miss Wexler answered, Can't you see she's busy with Angela's wedding dress? And why must you wear a silly costume like that? Really, Turtle, I don't know why you insist on making yourself ugly. It's no sillier than a wedding dress. Duh, Turtle snapped back. Besides, nobody gets married anymore, and if they do, they don't wear silly wedding dresses. Yes, people do get married, and they do wear wedding dresses when they get married. This was made... I don't know how things were going in 1979, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that. She was close to a tantrum. Besides, who would want to marry that stuck-up, know-it-all, marshmallow-faced Dr. Denton? That's enough of your smart mouth, Mrs. Wexler leapt up, hand ready to strike. I hate this woman already. Instead, she straightened a framed flower print, patted her fashionable honey blonde hairdo, and sat down again. She had never hit Turtle, but one of these days. Besides, a stranger was present. Dr. Deer is a brilliant young man, she explained for Flora Bomback's ears. The dressmaker smiled politely. Angela will soon be Angela Deer. Isn't that a precious name? The dressmaker nodded. And then we'll have two doctors in the family. Now, where do you think you're going? Turtle was at the front door. Somebody downstairs to tell Dad about the smoke coming from the Westinghouse. Come back this instant. You know your father operates in the afternoon. Why don't you go to your room and work on stock market reports or whatever you're doing there? Wait, what kid does stock market reports in their room? Okay, some room. It's even too small for a closet. I'll hem your witch's costume, Turtle, Angela offered. Miss Wessler beamed on her perfect child draped in white. What an angel. I have never heard of a mother playing favorites to this degree before. Crow's clothes were black, her skin dead white. She looked severe. Rigid, in fact. Rigid and righteously severe. No one would have guessed that under that stern facade her stomach was doing flip-flops as Dr. Wexler cut out a corn. Staring down at the fine lines of pink scalp that showed through the podiatrist's thinning light brown hair did nothing to ease her queasiness. So, softly humming a hymn, she settled her gaze on the north window. Smoke! Watch it! Jake Wexler almost cut off her little toe along with the corn. Unaware of the near amputation, the cleaning woman stared at the Westinghouse. You'll just sit back, Jake began, but his patient did not hear him. She must have been a handsome woman at one time, but her life had used her harshly. Faded hair, nodding in a tight bun at the nape of her gaunt neck, glinted gold-red in the light. Her profile was fine, marred only by the jut of her clenched jaw. Well, let's get on with it. Friday was a busy day. He had phone calls to make. Please sit back, Mrs. Crow. I'm almost finished. What? Jake gently replaced her foot on the chair's pedestal. I see you've hurt your shin. For an instant... What? For an instant their eyes met, then she looked away. A shy creature, or a guilty one. Crow averted her face, and then she spoke. Your daughter Turtle kicked me, she muttered, staring once again at the Westinghouse. That's what happened when there's no religion in the home. Sandy says that Westing's corpse is up there, rotting away on an oriental rug, but I don't believe it. If he's truly dead, then he's roasting in hell. We're sinners all. Well, gee, this lady's pleasant. What do you mean his corpse is rotting on an oriental rug? Some kind of Persian rug, maybe a Chinese rug. Mr. Hu joined his son at the glass side wall of the fifth-floor restaurant. And why were you wasting precious time listening to an overage delivery boy with an overactive imagination when you could have been studying? It was not a question. Doug's father never asked questions. Oh, it's that Asian stereotype where they ask questions as if they're making statements. It's kind of like the opposite Valley Girl. Don't shrug at me. Go study. Sure, Dad. I'm about to force myself not to do an offensive accent. Sure, Dad. Doug jogged off through the kitchen. There was no use arguing against that there was no school tomorrow, just track practice. He jogged down the back stairs, no matter what excuse he gave. Go study, his father said. Go study. He jogged into Hu's rear apartment, stretched out on the bare floor, and repeated, go study to 20 sit-ups. Only 2 customers were expected for dinner hour. Shin's Hu restaurant could seat 100. Mr. Hu slammed the reservations book shut, pressed a hand against the pain in his ample stomach, unwrapped a chocolate bar, and devoured it quickly before acid etched another ulcer. Back home again, what is he? Well, Westing won't get off so easy this time, not on his life. A small, delicate woman in a long white apron stood in silence before the restaurant's east window, stared longingly into the boundless gray distances so far, far on the other side of Lake Michigan, Lake China. Sandy McSuthers saluted as the Moon Mercedes swung around that curved driveway and came to a stop at the entrance. He opened the car door with a ceremony reserved only for Judge J.J. Ford. Oh, it's a judge with what sounds like a rapper's name. Look up there, Judge. There's smoke coming from the Westinghouse. A tall black woman in a tailored suit, her short-clipped hair touched with gray, slipped out from behind the wheel, handed the car keys to the doorman, cast a disinterested glance toward the hill. They say nobody's up there, just the corpse of old man Westing rotting away on an oriental rug. Sandy reported as he hoisted a full briefcase from the truck of the car. Do you believe in ghosts, Judge? There's certain to be a more rational explanation. Right, of course, Judge. Sandy opened the heavy glass door and followed in the judge's heel through the hot lobby. I was just repeating what Otis Amber said. Otis Amber is a stupid man, if not downright mad. J.J. Ford hurried into the elevator. She should not have said that, not her, not the first woman to have been elected to a membership in the state. This is 1979, so I guess I can give her that. She was tired after a trying day, that was it. Or was it? So Sam Westing had come home at last. Well, she could sell the car, take it a bank loan, pay him back in cash. But would he take it? Please, don't repeat what I said about Otis Amber, Mr. McSuthers. Don't worry, Judge. The doorman escorted her to the apartment of 4D. What you tell me is strictly confidential. And it was. J.J. Ford was the biggest tipper in Sunset Towers. I saw some Chris Theodorakis was too excited to stutter out the news to her mother. One arm shot out and twisted up over his head. Dumb arm. Theo squatted next to the wheelchair. Listen, Chris, I'll tell you about a haunted castle on the hill. His face was soothing and hushed in mystery. Somebody's up there, Chris, but nobody is there. Just rich Mr. Westing, and he's dead. Dead as a squashed June bug and rotting away on a moth-eating oriental rug. Chris relaxed as he always did when his brother told him a story. Theo was good at making up stories. and the worms are crawling in and out of his dead man's skull, in and out of his ear holes, his nose holes, his mouth holes, in and out of all of his holes. Yeah. Yeah. Why would... all of his holes, okay? Wow. And the worms... Chris laughed and then quickly composed his face. He was supposed to look scared. Theo leaned closer. High above the putrid corpse, a crystal chandelier is tinkling. It tinkles. Yes, okay, I know they use different words in when this is written, but it makes it sound like the chandelier is peeing. It tinkles and twinkles, but not one breath of air stirs in the gloomy tomb of a room. Gloomy tomb of a room. Theo will make a good writer someday, Chris thought. He wouldn't spoil his wonderful spooky Halloween story by telling him that about the real person up there, the one with the limp. So Chris sat down quietly, his body at ease, and heard about ghosts and ghouls and purple waves, and smiled at his brother in pure delight. A smile that could break your heart, Sidel Pulaski, the tenant of 3C, always said. But no one paid any attention to Sidel Pulaski. Go home, Sidel Pulaski, nobody wants you. Speaking of which, Sidel Pulaski struggled out of the taxi, large end first. She was not a heavy woman, just wide-hipped from years of secretarial sitting. Yeah, of course you are. If only there was a ladylike way to get out of a cab. Her green rhinestone-studded glasses slipped down her fleshy nose as she grappled with a small triangular package and stuffed shopping bag. Now, if only that lazy driver would lend her a hand. Not for a nickel tip, he wouldn't. Through the cab, he slammed the back door and sped around the curved driveway, narrowly missing the Mercedes that Sandy was driving to the parking lot. At least the never-where-you-need-him doorman had propped open the front door. Not that she ever helped her, or noticed her for that matter. No one ever noticed. Sidel Pulaski limped through the lobby. She could be carrying a high-powered rifle in her package, and nobody would notice. She had moved to Sunset Towers hoping to meet elegant people, but no one invited her for so much as a cup of tea. No one paid any attention to her, except the poor crippled boy whose smile could break your heart, and that bratty kid with a braid. She'll be sorry she kicked her in the shin. Juggling her load, earrings juggling and charm bracelets jangling, Sidel Pulaski unlocked several locks to apartment 3C and bolted the door behind her. There'd be fewer burglaries around here. People listened to her about putting in deadbolt locks, but nobody listened, nobody cared. On the plastic-covered dining table, she set out the contents of her shopping bag. 6 cans of enamel, paint thinner, and brushes. She unwrapped the long package and leaned 4 wooden crutches against the wall. The sun was setting over the parking lot, but Sidel Pulaski did not look out her back window. From the side window, smoke could be seen rising from the Westinghouse, but Sidel Pulaski took no notice. No one ever notices Sidel Pulaski, she muttered, but now they will. Now they will. Okay, that's the end of part 1. I'll see you later for part 2.